Hey everyone, and welcome back to Geordie Pride, Voices from the Northeast. This week we're joined by the brilliant Ceryn Rowntree, coach, medium, author and proud Northumbrian. Growing up in Cramlington, Ceryn has always felt a deep connection to the Northeast, and in this episode she shares how her spiritual path has been shaped by her family's roots and the magic woven through our region. We chat about everything from childhood encounters with the spirit world and haunted castles to the special energy that runs through the Northeast, where coal dust, history and ancient magic all come together to shape who we are. Ceryn gives us a real glimpse into what it's like living as a medium day to day and how spirituality has supported post-mining communities. It's a conversation full of giggles and a touch of the supernatural, so pop the kettle on, get comfy and join us for a slightly spooky chat with Ceryn Rowntree. You're listening to Geordie Pride, Voices from the Northeast. I'm Hayley, and alongside my cousin Angela, we're thrilled to bring you the stories that share the heart and soul of the Northeast of England. Each episode, we'll dive into the lives of extraordinary Geordies and those who call the Northeast home, exploring their journeys and celebrating their achievements. From the time to the teas, from the arts to the sports fields, we're here to share the tales of passion, resilience, and of course, Geordie Pride. So whether you're from Whitley Bay or Washington, Gateshead or Gisborough, or you're just fascinated by the spirit of the Northeast, join us as we natter with the best the Northeast has to offer. Ceryn, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm dead excited for this conversation.
Well, looking forward to it as well. So let's dive straight in. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in the Northeast? Where are you from?
So I'm Ceryn, I was just about to say. So I'm from Cramlington in Northumberland, born in Ashington, raised in Cramlington where I still live today, have lived here my whole life. Thought for a long time I would move away when I was younger, and it never happened. And now I think I sort of understand why it didn't happen, but it's all good. So no, it's not worth it. So I work as a coach. I am a medium and I'm an author. So I do all manner of weird and wonderful things.
Fab. Oh, I'm excited to talk about this because this is my sort of ilk, if you like, because I'm a therapist. I'm a massage therapist in my day job, but I love anything spiritual, and Hayley does as well. So I was like really excited when I thought, oh, you're coming on. So how did you get into it? How did you get into mediumship and all of that, really?
So I've always done it. It's something I've done since I was, well, as long as I can remember. My mum and dad tell a story about me being about 2 years old and taking us on holiday to Blackpool, and me walking along Blackpool Promenade talking to somebody nobody else could see. And all these people were walking past like, what's she doing? And my mum and dad are just going, that's just how she is. It's fine. So I've always done it. It's something that's always been really prevalent in my family. And that's how it began, really. I'm a trained counsellor, and I trained as a counsellor because I wanted to be a better medium. And I trained then as a coach because I wanted to be better at just working with people and helping people. So it all stemmed from that, which in a weird way, as I'm sure we'll get onto, is a bit of a Geordie thing to do, to be honest, the work that I do. So yeah, it's been something I've done my whole life.
Is it something that you kind of like, they come to you, or a bit of both, where you've got to tell people what you see or feel or hear, or
a bit of both?
I want to know who this guy is. Who was this guy you saw when you were little? That's give me chills.
That's an interesting one, actually. So yeah, they come to me. Now I'm a lot more boundaried with it. So now I will sort of like, I have rules where I'm very much like, you don't come in my bedroom at night time. That does not happen. You don't come in the bathroom when I'm in the bathroom. That's not okay. And I don't want anybody just popping in to say hello when it's dark. Fine through the day, but not when it's dark, just because I don't need to be scared. That doesn't need to happen.
No, you'd shit yourself, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. But yeah, so it's almost like the doors are open, the lights are on, you can come and talk to us now. Otherwise, you're not welcome. Sometimes they will still pop in, but generally not.
Yeah.
But the person I used to talk to when I was little, interestingly, when I was really small, I had this imaginary friend who I used to talk to that I could see clear as day, that was a lady called Janie. And I always used to say, oh, Janie's here. I'm talking to Janie. What's Janie? Blah, blah. And it wasn't until I was about oh God, it must have been about 14, 15, 16. And we were looking through some family photos one day, and I stumbled across a photo of my great grandma who died a long time before I was born when she was younger. I'd never seen it before. And I picked up this photo and went, that's Janie. By that time, I'd stopped telling them I had this friend. I was like, that's Janie, who I used to talk to all the time. And it was my great grandma, whose name was Margaret Jane.
Wow.
So that Jane link was there. And they all sort of went, oh, okay, now we know who Janie was. But yeah, I used to, now I talk to anybody, to be honest, who pops in from over there. But it used to be, I used to have very definite people that I would talk to quite often. So yeah.
Oh.
So do you think that most kids have this ability and we just lose this while growing up, but you've worked on it and kept it? Or do you think is it just something unique to certain individuals? I've always wondered that.
I think we've all got it. And I don't even think it's just kids. I think in the same way, so I think we all have it. I think as kids, we tune into it a lot more naturally, and then we'll get a bit older. People tell us it's not normal. We start to think we should be scared of it, and so we'll shut it down. But I firmly believe, Hayley, that everybody can do this. I just think I liken it a little bit to singing, and bear with us there. You know how like you get some people who are brilliant singers from the off. Everybody can sing. Some people might not be very good at it, but give them a few weeks with a singing teacher, give them a bit of practice, and they will be able to at least hold a tune, at least do something. Actually, you can get somebody, as we say on TV programs all the time, you can get somebody who's really not naturally that sort of able to sing, you would think, and show them how it's done. And actually, they can be brilliant at it. I really believe we can all do this. And I think that one of my absolute passions in life is that I would just love everybody to be able to do it, because I think it just makes life feel that little bit easier when you know that you're not alone.
There's definitely different realms. There's got to be, because there's more than just us here. That's my belief. And my daughter, she's got some of this. She's had it since, maybe it's when she was about 3, 4. The first time it ever happened, we're in the car and I was driving and we're going to soft play one day. And she was in the seat in the front, in the passenger seat, in a little car seat. That's how little she was. Yeah. And she said, Mammy, go slow. I said, I am going slow. It's only 30, Neva. It's fine. Mum, go slow. And I said, I am. Don't panic. It's fine. Mammy, slow down. So I slowed real down because her face was just in panic by this point. I thought, this is really weird. So I thought, yeah, I'll humour her. And I said, look, see, Mummy's going slow. I'm driving. And just as I got round the corner, as I slowed down to about 10 miles an hour, because she kept saying, go slow, Mammy, slower. I kept slowing down to about 10 miles an hour, if that. And there was 2 massive big horses in the road. Couldn't see them. And she said, Mammy, I did tell you. And I said, wow, how did you know that? She said, Mammy, I could see it. It was there. I saw them. They were there. And then there's been little bits and bobs, like for years. She's 13 now. And we've recently moved into a new build. And she had said, Mum, I don't like your bedroom. I said, why? She said, just doesn't feel right. I said, what do you mean? She said, just has a cold feeling about it. And I said, it's probably because it hasn't got the heating on. And she said, no, Mum, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. I said, oh, give over, man. She says, Mum, I'm telling you. She says, every time I go in, I can smell mustard. I said, oh, that's weird. So I went upstairs.
What are you doing in the bedroom?
I know. I was like, mustard? She says, yeah, no, I can smell mustard. There's something not right. And I sort of just miss it. And I thought, it can't be anything spooky. It's a new build. So another night came, and my partner's daughter, she came downstairs after putting her to bed. She's 9. And she came downstairs and said to her dad, Daddy, I've just seen a foot going into your bedroom. And we both looked at each other as if to say, what? So,
thanks for that, kids.
And she was
no
really
one's sleeping well tonight.
I know. And she was really scared. I'm thinking, oh God. So we both went up and had a little look and reassured her and things, and everything's fine. And then I thought, I'm buying some sage.
Good plan.
A big massive bit of sage like this, started burning it around the house. Yeah, giving it this. The whole house was stinking of sage.
Nobody's smelling mustard now.
Exactly. And then Neva, my daughter, had said, Mum, it's still here. I can still feel it. So we had to do it at least 3 times. And she's like, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, she went, Mum, I think it's gone now. But I opened all the windows, saged it to hell, got the bloody crystals out and all sorts.
Well, Angela, if anything, you've just, I'm not coming out of your house. I've not been, but I'm not coming now.
But yeah, so whatever it is, they've never mentioned it. And I think if it was still here, I think Neva would have said, oh, it's still here, Mum. But she said, no, I think the feeling's gone now. And I don't feel like it's heavy, like it's heavy feeling. So hopefully, but I'm just wondering if I need to look on the, the land registry, whatever it is, and just to see whether it's been built on top of like cemetery or something.
I was just going to say that, because isn't it interesting? I think we forget sometimes just how much history there is here. I used to work at McDonald's when I was a student, and I used to, every time I would go into the storeroom by myself, I'd be like, I don't like it in here. It just feels funny. I don't like it in here at all. Every single time. And I was there from that particular one opening. And then I remember one night, probably about 2 years after I'd left, do you remember Alan Robson used to do those Halloween ghost hunts where they would drive around the northeast? And they got to the Moor Farm where I used to work. I shouldn't say that, should I? In case McDonald's is going to be put off by us telling people they're haunted. Oh, well, get your Big Mac and see
it might boost tourism.
You never know. And I remember instead, this area around where there is now a McDonald's and a pub and all the rest of it, it was known for, there was a big battle. One of the sort of battles on the borders was right there. And people were known for seeing ghosts of sort of old soldiers, of like back when it was the Scottish and the English. I don't really know the detail, but it was a known site of seeing spirits. And I was like, that'll be why I never liked being in the storeroom then. All right, cool. So I do think with where we are is built on so much history and so much like really emotive history that it's bound to leave its echoes, you know?
Absolutely.
I think I've always felt like different energies in places and such. And my husband thinks I'm bonkers. He totally doesn't believe in anything like that. He's very there's no ghosts and all these different energies and stuff. He's very much on that space, which is fine, which is fair enough. But I'm like the opposite. I do believe in stuff like that, and I feel things. Like when we moved down here, because I live in West Yorkshire now, Ceryn, and I'm from Asherton, but we were looking at houses, and there was just a few. I was like, no. He's like, why? It feels awful, Pete. I said, I can't live in this place. I can feel the energy. It's just not right. And I had lots of experiences in the house where I grew up as well, which I'll not bore you with, but I've always believed that there's something in past us. And I think as well, like both me and Angela's lost both her parents. I've lost my mum. I think it's just nice to have that reassurance that there is something there, isn't it? And just, I don't know whether that's what kind of makes it stick with me a little bit more, just for that reassurance and that belief that there is something and that they're waiting for you and there's something afterwards. But do you feel as though, has there been kind of anything in your life that's fueled you to continue to believe in it or anything like that?
Just loads of things. It's one of those things that, as I say, my family have always believed in it, and it's always been quite a big thing. I only realised that it was weird for a family to be so open to spiritual stuff when I was in my 20s, and I would tell my friends and they go, no, my family doesn't do this. No, my family doesn't talk about this. Oh, really? But apparently it was spiritualism as a movement, which is kind of where I sort of started training, was through spiritualist churches. And that was very big in mining communities, which makes total sense, right? Because you had pit collapses every month somewhere in the northeast. So you're losing your husbands, your sons, your brothers, I already said sons, your husbands, your sons, your brothers, all of those people. You're losing them down the pit. You're going to want to stay in contact with them. You're going to want that sense that there's something else. So, of course, in those most dangerous times, in those most dangerous places, we would connect with them. And I think for me, oh God, I've had loads of them. I could talk about it forever. But I think one of my favourite ones personally, I mean, I always remember about 2-3 years after my nana died, I had a really vivid dream where I saw her and she gave me this symbol and said, this means patience and faith. That's what you need to learn in life. You need to get it tattooed on the back of your neck. And I woke up the next morning, I can't draw for toffee, but I had a vision in my mind of what this symbol was. So I went and Google imaged patience, faith symbol. And after about 5 pages, I came across this Japanese symbol that was exactly what I'd seen in my brain when I woke up. And I carried it around for about 3 years because I wanted to get it checked by, it was before, now I probably wouldn't get a Japanese symbol tattooed, but we're talking, 20 years ago. And I carried it around because I wanted to get somebody who was a native Japanese speaker to just check it and make sure that's what it said.
Right,
just in case.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be anything dodgy. And sure enough, they were like, yeah, that's what it is. And I had, God, years later, I worked with a guy who passed away very suddenly, very young, very suddenly. He was a friend of mine. I used to go out with him and one thing and another. And a few days after he passed away, I was sat at home one day and I could just see him clear as anything in my mind's eye. And I could see him pouring a pint of beer into a shoe and drinking this pint of beer out the shoe. And I was like, what's happening? And I'd gone into work a few days later and I'd bumped into a friend of his and we were talking about it. And he said to us, I know what you do outside of work. At the time I was working in an office in Jesmond. I know what you do outside of work. Is there anything that you've got? Can you tell us anything? Is he okay? And I said, funny story, actually. I saw this. Here's what I saw the other day. And he's every bit of colour drained out of his face. And we went on a stag do a couple of years ago and we were drinking pints out of a shoe. Exactly as you described. That's one of the things we did. I was like, I've never heard that. And I think for me, I don't think anybody should just believe it outright. I'm a firm proponent in, as you say with your husband, Hayley, until you get your own proof. Absolutely. Like, I'm not suggesting anybody should listen to me and go, that's it, I believe. That's not what I'm here to do. But I think it's just about being open-minded. And for me, I've had enough little bits of open-mindedness over the years. I remember when I was about 18 going to a spiritualist church with my dad, and this man came to him. It was about 6 months after my nana, his mother-in-law, had passed away. And this person came to him and said, I've got a woman here and she's holding out a great big chocolate cake, but she's saying, you're not allowed any of this. It's just because she wants to tell you whatever the message was with the chocolate cake. My dad used to get really bad migraines when he ate chocolate. And my nana used to bake these beautiful chocolate cakes and would always be like, but you can't have any. And so it's those tiny little things that you just think, that means nothing to anybody. And you could never have guessed it. You could never have predicted it. And yet there it is, are the things that make me go, that have always over time made me go, all right, I believe it. Okay, I believe this. And I believe what I'm getting as well, because it's the hardest thing in the world to kind of see things that nobody else can see and then be like, yep, I'm confident enough to stand up in front of a room full of people and say, this is fact. You've got to just get those little bits of proof and trust them as they come almost.
Have you had any readings that you thought, come away from it and thought, wow, bloody hell, I am good at this? Something that's just amazing.
There's two or three recent ones that I can think of. And one of them is a friend of mine I'm just trying to decide how I can say this without giving too much away, because obviously it's a bit confidential, but a friend of mine lost a family member during COVID and I didn't know either of them at that point in time. And I gave them a reading a few years later. That was it. And said, look, the lady that you lost is here with me. And she wants me to say, I think you're away somewhere this weekend. She wants me to say, just look out for her. She's going to be looking down on you. Please look out for her. And he was away that weekend. As it turned out, he was away with his wife. And he came home and watched the reading, because I do them via video. So he came home and watched the reading on the Monday when he got back and messaged me and said, you're not going to believe this. We turned the city we were in. We were walking along. We had no idea this was there. We turned a corner and here there was a memorial to people who had died during COVID in the particular way she did. And her face was right there on the wall, actually looking down at us from the wall. It was, yeah, absolutely right. She was there looking down on us. This wasn't a sort of, she's with you. She was looking at us. And I was like, there's just, it's like I say, it's the things where you just go, there's sometimes I'll see it and I go, I have absolutely no idea. I have a friend who I'd done a reading for at the start of last year and she was away. I can't remember where she'd gone because she travels a lot, but she'd gone somewhere. And I can't remember exactly the detail of it, but in her reading, I described this building to her and said, and when you look under the building, here's what you're going to see. And here it turned out the building, I had no idea where it was. The building that I was describing was like a lesser known temple in wherever it was that she was. And sure enough, in the basement of that building was exactly what I described to her. And it's these things where it's, I've probably got better examples, but I can't think off the top of my head. It's these things where you just go, I don't know there is no logical explanation for where that came from. It's that quote, isn't it? When you've ruled out all of the possible things, it must be something impossible. And I think over the years, I've had enough of those to go, there's no logical explanation for this. So we'll have to just assume that it's spirit. And that's that. It's as simple as that. So yeah, there's been quite a few that if I really thought about it, I could probably come up with some better examples. But yeah.
Oh, I love those. But it's exactly as you say, if you've not experienced those things yourself, it's so easy to not believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you've only had a couple of experiences and you can perhaps connect them to something like, oh, it must have been that, and then you can park it. But if it's consistent and you're seeing it every single day, and like you said, it's definitely leaning and opening up to different possibilities. Like, how I'm curious, how do you see things you talked about before, like in your mind's eye? Is it something that, do they appear in front of you? Is it something that you just feel? Is it like a presence? Do they talk to you in your head? Like, I've got no idea, and I know that different people do things differently and they present themselves differently. How does it work for you? I'm very curious.
So as you say, everybody does it differently, and there are different psychic senses or spiritual senses that are, some people hear more strongly, some people see more strongly, some people smell more strongly, all of those different senses. For me, I do hear and I do see. I think, again, all of them I have a little bit, but they're the ones that are strongest. The seeing part of it, I always think, do you remember? I remember when I was a kid, I used to have this book of ancient Egypt, and you'd have a picture of the ruins of the pyramid on the page, and then you'd have almost like a bit of clear plastic that you put over the top that had the pyramid as it was. So you could sort of go, oh, that's how it used to be. Then you'd lift it, oh, that's how it is today. And you could almost transpose the two scenes together. So it's a little bit like that for me. If I really want to, I can almost close my eyes and be like, okay, no, not right now. And I can just see the world as it is now. But equally, when I open up to it, it's like it's transposed on the top. There's a whole other thing going on, which isn't necessarily. There are times I've seen people and thought, oh, that's just a normal person I'm seeing walking down the street, and then suddenly gone, oh God, no, it's not. Okay. Hi, you're right. But 9 times out of 10, that's not how I say it. 9 times out of 10, it's just it's almost like a really light, like, that's a funny noise. It's almost like a really light photo or a really light like copy of the world on top of itself, sort of thing. And the same with the sound. When I first started hearing spirit, a lot of people say you hear it really high pitched because it's a different energetic vibration, and I would hear it slightly differently. Now I hear it very similarly to how I do in the everyday. Really, it just sounds a little bit more distant, then you almost have to tune into it a bit. But as you say, everybody is different, so everybody gets it differently.
It's not Sixth Sense, is it?
No, categorically not. Like, that film scares the living daylight out of me, so categorically no, I'm not like that.
Oh yeah, I was hating if it's like that. God, imagine it. Jesus.
Kevin, have you ever gone to Chillingham Castle?
Oh, that was a good time for me.
That's someone honking their horn outside me.
Yes, I have. I haven't been for years, and I keep thinking I need to go back. And to be totally honest, I'm really frightened to go back, because the last time I went, I wasn't it was before I started properly developing as a medium. So I could do it, but I wasn't really tuned into it. But I remember standing 2 or 3 times in the castle and literally retching, because I was just like, I don't like the feeling of this. And we'd gone on a family day. I think I was about 15 or something. We'd gone on a family day trip, and we were walking down some of the outside stairs in the courtyard, and my brother was walking down next to me and just suddenly did that. I was like, what are you doing? Somebody just pushed me down those stairs, and I was like, it wasn't me. I promise to this day, I promise it wasn't me, but he swears somebody pushed him down the stairs. So at some point I need to go back, and I've done a lot of the other ones, and I go a lot of the other ones regularly. But I mean, I had a cracking experience in Newcastle, in the castle in Newcastle at the end of last year. But I go to a lot of the other castles regularly, but Chillingham, I'm just going to wait and go back there maybe when I'm feeling especially brave one day. Today's not the day.
Is it true, like, you can't like take anything out of the castle?
That's what they say, isn't it? They say that if you take things out, it'll curse you or haunt you or whatever for forevermore.
And I always think, is it a ploy to kind of get you there, like a touristy thing, or is it real?
I think I don't like the feel of it. I've only, but then again, I always think the woods around Chillingham, I do a lot of diving into the ancient history of the region and all that stuff, because I'm fascinated and all that. And the woods around Chillingham always feel really sacred. So I wonder if actually, if you were to wander around the woods, whether you would find that there's really beautiful energy there, and it almost counteracts whatever is in the castle.
Yeah. I've never been brave enough to go, actually. And I was thinking while we're talking, do I dare take my daughter?
Ooh, good. And you'll need to live stream it. I want to see. We'll do a Geordie Pride special.
Geordie Pride Halloween special. That's the one, right there.
We go.
That's a
That's
good
what we'll
idea.
do.
We'll scare the
record,
witch
go
out
to
in
Chillingham and
Newcastle.
Newcastle. Are you coming? Let's go.
I'll come. Maybe that's what I'm waiting for.
We'll have a day trip.
We'll have a day trip.
We'll go at night.
I will be the one shitting myself and running away. Like,
no, you won't, because I will be as well.
That's me for dust.
It'll be a very short episode. Are we allowed to ask what happened at Newcastle Castle? You mentioned it when...
Yeah, so I went to Newcastle Castle at the end. I've never been before, and I just happened to be in that part of town. I had about an hour to kill, and I was like, oh, sorry, I'll go to the castle. Like, why not? And I'd gone in, all fine, all lovely. I remember when I was younger having some really terrifying experiences in the toilet of the pub across the road that was like, it was in the basement of the pub. And 2 or 3 times I was in there and was like, there's a man in here and I don't like it. He's not very nice. And I remember at that point telling my dad at one point, and he said, hold on, I've got a ghost book that mentions that pub. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, there's supposed to be a monk in there or something. So I've always been a bit like, exactly. I've always been a bit like, I don't know if I want to go in the castle. And I was having a brave day, so I thought I'll go in. And it was lovely. Lots of it was so lovely. There was so much. You could feel a lot of excitement, a lot of pride actually in the area, and a lot of pride in the building and all that stuff. And then I got to this one particular room, and I've never been there before, so I didn't know what it was. But I walked into this room and immediately was like, I'm not meant to be here. Immediately just, I'm not meant to be here. And I thought, I'm going to keep going. I know I'm protected. I'm fine. And I walked a little bit further into the room. And as I got into the room, I'd had the jacket I was wearing had a pin badge on it that said feminist witch. And I'm stood there, and all of a sudden something just went ping on the floor. And I was like, I'm the only person there. What on earth's happening? And I looked down, and here the pin badge is lying on the floor. Now, there is no way that pin badge I'd only put it on a couple of days before, but I'd worn the jacket. I know it was properly fastened. And I tried to, when I got home later, I tried to recreate it. God, for about an hour, just going, right, how could I pull it off? How could I? The only way you could take it off was by actually getting the back of it and pinching the thing and pulling it off, because it was brand new, so it was quite tight. But I later learned that particular room. I learned that it was whatever that particular room was near to the chapel, I think, which they don't like a witch anyway, full stop. But I later learned that room, it was something like that. Because you know that Newcastle, I don't know if you do, Newcastle hung the most witches in one day of any city in Britain during the European witch trials. I think, was it 18 or 19 we hung in one day. And that particular part of the castle was where they were held, apparently, before they were taken. I can't remember if it was for trial or to be hung, but it was where they were held for a period of time. And these people who were hung as witches, who I'm sure were perfectly normal women that just incurred the wrath of the witch hunters, obviously somebody somewhere had been like, take that pin off, please. So that freaked us out already. And then I walked all the way downstairs. It's the big sort of winding stairs right the way down the basement. And I walked all the way down and got there. And I was the only person there, walked down the bottom of these stairs. And I remember just taking 2 steps into this room and going, nope, I'm not meant to be here. And turning around, just legging it back up the stairs. I was like, yeah, somebody doesn't want me here. I'm done. I'm out. But I would happily go back to the castle because it was beautiful. And the views from the top are spectacular. Absolutely.
Oh, they're lovely. I've only been once, to be fair. Like, it was one of those things where I think it was probably about 2008, and I went in, and it was, I didn't actually realise there was a castle in Newcastle until that point. I was in my 20s, and I was just like, what? Oh, like, I didn't even know that was there. And I went and had a look around. I said, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, because we're from the same kind of area. So obviously I was very aware of the ones up the coastal route, Bamburgh, Wargrathannock, all that. And I was completely unaware that there was a castle in the city. And I went in, I had about a good half an hour little jaunt around it. And then, like you say, the views at the top with the bridges and stuff, it's so nice. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but I think it sounds like a good time to go back to it, because you were talking about the witch trials and stuff. Like, how do you feel that growing up where you did in Northumberland. We've got a lot of history, obviously. How do you feel that shaped your spiritual journey and what you got into?
Oh my God, I think it's so much is my short answer. And I think I said before, when in my 20s, I really wanted to leave the Northeast. I spent a lot of time wanting to get away, and now I realise why I wasn't meant to, because I think there is a particular kind of energy up here, and if I'm going to use the word, there's a particular magic up here that is almost hidden from the rest of the world. It's as though the rest of the world don't even realise how special this part of the world is. And when you look at the history we have here, and when you look at the, and not just the battles and all of that stuff, but what we have created here and what we still create from this part of the world, there's just this richness here that I think whatever it is that you do, you tap into that richness, you feel that richness. But for me, tapping into the energetics of it, I always think if I ever was in a position where I was going to write an autobiography, I'd call it Blood and Coal, because I think actually part of the beauty of being from here is we'll have this coal dust in our blood, right? And I promise I'm going to come back to answering your question. There's a reason for this. If you think about that coal, the coal that I don't know about you guys, both of my granddads worked down the mines, their dads worked down the mines, all of that stuff. And what is that coal? It's these ancient trees. Like our part of the world has just it's just holds so much. And at the risk of going really woo, I think part of what drives me with what I do is being able to sit in all of that history and all of that energy and all of that beautiful earth that is so full of this ancient stuff, and go, all right, what is it that we've got to tell the world here? What is it that we've been hiding from the world up here? And I think that's a big part of it, as in a very practical sense. As I say, I think spiritualism was such a big part of mining communities, and I think that's what led me to get into that's what led my family to get into mediumship, which is what then led me into it. In terms of the witchcraft element, which is something that I do, I think that if I look at the way my granddads worked with the earth, not just as coal miners, but as gardeners and as sort of almost like men that just worked, got their fingers dirty every day, that the women in northeastern communities, my grandma and my great grandma and all of those people who would sit around kitchen tables drinking tea and figuring out problems, that's what I do when I'm coaching and when I'm counseling. That's what I do. I don't think the work that I do is any different from the work that my ancestors did, to be honest. I think it's just that we've made it something weird now, and we've made it something a little bit woo-woo.
I think you are right. Like both me and Angela have got a steep history with the mining. I mean, we're from Ashton. Most people in Ashton were coal miners. Both my grandparents were my grandfathers, but also on my dad's side as well. My grandma was a spiritualist, and she was part of a spiritualist church, and that was part of their life, and it was very normal. And I think modern times it has evolved, hasn't it? And it's not seen as normal now, but I can't help but feel as though because it was so normal, there was this big collective belief in it. Do you still think there's like that overhang of belief that's carried through, or do you feel like it's dissipating a little bit now, like with just more, I don't know what the word is really, is it? It's just people just tend to not believe in something that they can't see anymore.
It's a really good question. I think there is more cynicism now, isn't there, that people, but equally, I think if we look at, and I'm trying not to criticize anything or anybody here, so bear with us, but I think if we look at the way the whole of our country was hundreds of years ago, we were all very nature-based. We talked to the ancestors. We were the indigenous peoples of the place where we live were all very much into all of that stuff. We know that they talked to the ancestors. We know that they worked with the ancestors, all of that stuff. And then the church came in, told them that was sinful, told them that was wrong. And I mean, let's be clear. Here, I always think anywhere that the church comes and makes a big effort must have been very powerful spiritually at some point, because otherwise they wouldn't have bothered. And look at Lindisfarne. Where did Christianity in England start? It started from Lindisfarne, effectively. And so the church did a lot to tell us that, talking to our ancestors, we shouldn't do that. We should only do it through a vicar. That kind of, we didn't really want to work with the earth and with the natural cycles. We wanted to work with what they said and with their rules. And I think now, as you sort of, people are becoming a bit more cynical in some senses, but I also think people are also shaking off a lot of the old conditioning that tells them that something is wrong. And even just down to, you know, whether you are a medium who talks to people no one else can see, whether you are a practicing witch, or whether you're just somebody who thinks, do you know what, it's the holiest place I can go, the place where I feel something is most special and most sacred, and I feel something just go ping inside of me, is, I don't know, standing on Bamburgh Beach watching the sunrise, or climbing one of the beautiful big hills that we have up here, or even standing in St James's Park watching a goal go in on a Saturday afternoon. Like, it's about tapping into what feels sacred for us, I think. And I think that there is a lot more realization of people being able to tap into what their own version of sacred is. And with that in mind, I think that has to lead to a lot more open-mindedness. I hope so, anyway.
You've answered my question there, to be fair. I was just going to say as well, is there any sort of like place that's really where you can really, for you to tap into and feel really at ease and spiritual, and anywhere that you think that is really special to you, that you think that's, I want to say, powers that you can use, your mediumship, your powers and things that you can really home in on?
Yeah. Do you know what I always find interesting? That we don't, I mean, we do have some kind of sacred sites, if you like, that we call, you know, we've got Duddo Five Stones up north is really known. We've got St Cuthbert's Cave. We've got all, Lindisfarne is a prime example. We've got all these places that are classed as being like sacred sites, or there is something mystical about them. We don't know what. But I think a lot of ours as well have been lost. You look at Cornwall, where there's a stone circle on every corner. There's all these things everywhere. We don't have as many as those. And I often think that's probably because somebody somewhere in the past went, oh, there's coal here, let's dig it up. Doesn't matter what's on top of it right now, we'll dig it up. But for me, I don't think there's anywhere, for me personally, I don't think there's anywhere in the Northeast that makes me feel more just tuned into something really spiritual than Bamburgh. Whether you're standing at the castle, whether you're standing on the beach, it's just one of the most beautiful places. But I live 5 minutes down the road from Northumberlandia, and I always used to say, it can't be a sacred site though. It's only been there for 20 years or something. It can't be a sacred site. And then I read a thing a while ago that said, for starters, who knows what it was before? Who knows what it was before it became an open cast mine, and before that? But I read a thing a while ago that said the thing that makes a site sacred, as far as our ancestors were concerned, that made a site sacred, was having the bones of people they loved there. And I read that about I probably shouldn't say this because I might get in trouble. But I read that about 6 months after I went and scattered my dog's ashes there. And I was like, if it wasn't sacred before, then I've made it sacred now. So there is something for me. I think that our land is just so special. I don't think it matters where you stand. I really don't think that we just live. We're so fortunate to live in a corner of the world that is just, you can feel the magic of it in every inch of grass and every piece of sand, and it's just beautiful. And for me personally, they're my places. But honestly, I don't think it matters where you go, because I just think we're bloody lucky and we live somewhere amazing.
I think I've said this a few times. I moved away 10 years ago. So that's what I was saying when you were talking about moving. I was like, don't do it, because I just want to be home now. And it's every time we go home, I feel it. And I know you could say it's just the feeling of home, but it just feels so special to us. And like, I get out the car, I can smell the sea air. It just feels wonderful. And it's like I say, I feel like I feel energies and stuff. And as soon as I get past that barrier and it says you are in Northumberland, I'm like, brilliant. I automatically relax. It's just got such a calm and essence and feeling about coming home and feeling that type of energy it's around, and it's so special to me. And one day I'm hoping we'll be back, but we'll see. But actually, Angela, I was going to say, you mentioned Bamburgh Castle.
Yeah.
I think our family's got a connection to Bamburgh Castle. It's just reminded me. It's one of those things where I'm going to get it wrong, but Kelly my sister, she done the family tree, and there was something along the lines, probably maybe about, I'm not even going to guess the timeline because I'll be completely wrong and embarrass myself, but there was someone in our family had an affair with the man of the house at Bamburgh Castle. So there's an illegitimate child in our timeline that's linked to Bamburgh Castle.
Wow.
So we should go to Bamburgh Castle and find out about our family, Angela.
We need to do a live there, don't we?
Yeah.
That in Chillingham.
God.
And we'll take Ceryn and she can
We'll
channel
take
it through.
Not channel. Wow, that's exciting.
But yeah, I thought, I was like, because I was saying to my sister, what does this mean I'm part of royalty? Who lived in Bamburgh Castle? I want to know.
Northumberland royalty, that's right.
I wonder if that's why I like it there. I love it there.
It makes us think of, have you watched Last Kingdom on Netflix?
Yes.
When he's Lord of Bamburgh, isn't he? That's it.
Yeah.
That's now what I'm visualising. That he's great.
Yeah.
How many times granddad?
It's in my blood, Angela.
It is, isn't it? It's forgotten blood.
So, Ceryn, what would you say, I mean, we've touched a lot on it already, but what's so special for you about being from the Northeast? What does it mean to you?
Do you know, I was just going to answer and say absolutely everything. Do you know what? I was thinking about this. I think we're doing this at such a good time, right? Because we're recording this a handful of days after Newcastle won the Carabao Cup final, right? Which is marvellous. I love that you did that in sync. You both lifted your fists. And I think one of the things that really made me cry about it in the aftermath of that was the fact that I remember when I was going to say when I was little, but it wasn't even when I was little. I remember being in my 20s and having a boyfriend at the time who was from outside of the area who would say, you really need to learn to talk properly. I remember having, I know. I remember having a friend who said to me one day, I worry about the fact that my son's growing up in the place you're from because he's going to sound like you. I vividly remember being a kid and watching Biker Grove and then thinking, well, they're the only people who talk like me. And walking around thinking, but the people here are so lovely. We've got such beautiful scenery. There is so much here that is just wonderful. And yet all people do when they look at us or when they listen to us is like turn their noses up and think that we're... I went traveling when I was 24, 25. And I remember being on a group trip with this young lad who he'd gone to Eton. He was 18, traveling the world. He'd gone to Eton. And there was me and a lad from Liverpool on the trip. And he said one day, he was saying something, I can't remember what he said, but he said, we all know what you Northerners are like. And this lad from Liverpool went, what do you mean by that? And he said, uneducated and unwashed.
Oh my God.
And obviously we went through him, but I say all of that to say now we live in this time at the moment where the rest of the world seems to be realising it's cool to be a Geordie. We've got the Brit Awards happened last month, and of the 5 or something awards for current artists in the here and now, 2 of them were won by Geordies. We've got Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup. We've got Ant and Dec. There is so much happening that now people are it's cool to be a Geordie, and that's amazing and it feels wonderful. And I look at the generations below me and I think I hope you're never going to have that. Just don't learn to talk differently. But equally, I look at the rest of the world and go, well, it's taken you long enough, hasn't it? Come on. We live in this beautiful place. We are surrounded by these people who are just so lovely. By and large, obviously you're always going to get some assholes, but by and large, we are surrounded by lovely people. We have such a history. We have, oh my God, I just love being from this part of the world, and it means absolutely everything. And I think like I say, that coal dust is in my blood. If you cut me open, I will bleed Northumbria. And I'm I'm so proud of that. I could not be more proud of being from the Northeast.
Yeah, I completely agree. So my eldest daughter, I've got 3 daughters. My first 2 were born up there, and my oldest especially, she sounds Yorkshire. She's got a Yorkshire accent now. She's been here 10 years, which deeply upsets me. But she's so proud to be from the Northeast, and that makes me proud, like even prouder, because I can see the pride in her of just like on Sunday. I mean, when Newcastle won the cup, I was bubbling, but like she was so happy, and like all day we spent the day getting ready for the final, and we had our shirts on. She was ready by 9 o'clock with her shirt on. We made little banners and everything like that. And you could see just the pride in her, and she's not lived there for 10 years, but she just loves it that much. And it's just so nice to know that my children, even though they haven't had their childhood, most of their childhood there, they've still got that connection to it, because for me it is so special that it's my home. And like you say, the world is slowly catching up and realizing what we've realized for so long. And it's nice, like you say, when you're watching TV and stuff. I've never yet, I don't think, watched, say, things like all the reality shows and stuff, and there's always some kind of someone from the northeast, isn't there? There's Geordie, there's like Chris Ramsey, or there's like Vicky Patterson and all that, and they're all there, and I've never not really liked them. They're always so down to earth, just like they take the piss out of themselves. That's what we're all about, isn't it? Like, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We're very humble. We just get on with things. And I think the people in the public eye are very representative of that. And they're given this wonderful impression of the Northeast that we have all seen for so long, and don't necessarily understand, like what that guy said, uneducated and unwashed or something.
Mm.
I know people have that opinion of us because we're from the Northeast, and it's ridiculous, but I'm starting to see that's changing, which is lovely, and I just hope it continues. And like, even with the football, like, you see, I thoroughly expected that when we won it, that everyone, particularly Liverpool fans, I'd be thinking that they were going, oh, it's just a tin pot trophy, why are they getting so excited by that? But actually, it's been so lovely seeing everybody, including Liverpool fans, going, do you know what, I'm so proud of the Geordies. It's so nice to see them win something. I love Geordies, and it's just so nice for the rest of the country to be around us and cheering it as well, which I don't think we've ever really had before. I think it's just nice to have that camaraderie towards us.
It's really beautiful. Yeah, I went to see Sam Fender in Paris earlier this month, which is a whole long story. But what was amazing was we went and we were like, oh, well, we're Newcastle shirts, just to show that we're from the Northeast. We got there. I think there were probably as many Geordies as there were French people in it, probably more in the audience. And it was just this sea of Newcastle shirts. And I stood there in this tiny little, because it was a lush little venue. And I stood there and looked around and was just like, and this is it. Like, it felt like being at home. And you felt so safe. And everybody's singing Newcastle songs and all that. And then he obviously started singing. Somebody brought him a Greg's sausage roll and just carried it across.
I saw that.
Yeah. And it was just this thing about, it was the fact that we were all together and it felt like home, but also the fact that people had, we'd gone to see the music, of course, because he's awesome, but like, people had travelled to just go and cheer on one of our own somewhere else, and that was really beautiful. I just thought, this is who we are. This is who we are, and this is what we're about, and that's what I just love it. I just love the Northeast, and
and even with the football, like I saw in the crowd, so Elliot Anderson, he was one of ours, grew up in the Northeast and played in the academy and stuff like that, and then unfortunately he went to Nottingham Forest, but everyone's still so supportive of him. They really want to see him do well. He played for England this week. Like, everyone's getting behind him, even though he no longer plays for Newcastle. And then he was in the crowd when they won the cup, and he was cheering with everybody else. Like, it's just, that once you're a Geordie, I don't think you ever get out of it. Like, it's a part of your character, and you're always there, and it's just something so special.
What canny folk?
What are?
Hey, there's a reason why the production of Vera chose up north, because of all the lovely people and the landscape and all sorts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a pity she'd get the Geordie accent, though.
He should try, bless her. Should try. It's funny though, isn't it? Because you say that, like, you say, what is it? I can't remember the exact words of the question, but what do you love most about being a Geordie? How do you even narrow it down?
You can.
Can it?
Yeah.
Because there's
you
just
could speak for hours, couldn't you?
You could, and have done. Oh my God, it is just. I just think it's such a privilege to be from up here. They can tell us all they want about how unprivileged the Northeast is, and I don't want to diminish that at all, because we've got our struggles and we're so often shit on and all of those things. Don't get us wrong, but I cannot drive up the coast of this place. I cannot walk around Newcastle and talk to the people on the streets and think for a second that we haven't got some bloody good life living up here, because we're the best kept secret in the country, if not the world, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that leads nicely into my question of, if you had to put Geordie Pride into words, And if I can, let's see if we can even get it into 3 words. If you could get Geordie Pride into 3 words, what would those 3 words be? That's going to be like, I know you've just said we could talk hours on it, but I'm going to push you for 3 words.
Oh God, you might have to pause recording while I take 20 minutes to think of an answer.
We'll edit the silence while you think.
Put some music in where I went da, 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 da.
Elevator tune.
Oh my God. It's just, my heart's just full of home. That's it. Like, heart full of home. That's 4 words, but still, I think it does.
Yeah, we'll ignore the of.
Yeah, thanks.
Heart full of home. I like that.
Oh,
That's
I
just
like that.
lovely. Yeah.
If somebody, going back to your spirituality and things like that, and if there's somebody out there, well, listeners, who want to pursue that, that feel like they've got that kind of feeling about themselves, or they've got that sort of power, shall you say, what would be a good advice to give them to start it off?
I mean, there are so many ways to do it, especially nowadays, there's stacks of them. But the way I did it, even outside of, I was really fortunate that my family was so into it, they kind of helped. I just used to go to spiritualist churches, find a spiritualist church, because there are stacks that feels good, and get yourself along to their open circles, get yourself along to their development classes if they run them, and just let yourself dabble. That's not the only way to do it, but that's certainly the way I did it. It would probably be remiss if I didn't plug the fact that I've got a book about working with mediumship that's all about starting to develop your mediumship skills. I think give that a check. But yeah, that's the way I did it, was just potter along to a local spiritualist church and just find one that feels good and keep going.
Yeah, I think I might introduce my daughter to that actually and see what comes of it, if she wants to do it.
Should we go into the quick fire, Angela?
Yes. Can you guys see me? Because I feel as if
you are sitting in the pitch black. I can see your glasses glowing, and then that's
put the light on.
Go on, put the light on so we can see if we can see you. For those on the podcast are just wondering what the hell's going on.
Better.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
better.
hello.
Hello.
See your beautiful face.
We can.
Right. Yes, now I can see my questions.
Right, do you want to start, Angela?
Yeah. Let's have a little look. Oh, I like this one. What's your favourite Geordie saying or word?
Shy Ben's getting out. I have it written actually twice up there on the wall. Shy Ben's getting out.
Love it. Yep.
I just love the phrase in general because of if I say that to my girls, I just like, what the hell are you saying? But I love the premise of it as well. It's so true. Like,
you might have to say it. You might have to say it in a Yorkshire accent, Hayley. They might understand it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know how to
do that.
I'll get Annabelle to say it, and then I'll copy her, and then I'll still get it wrong. I'll just offend all the Yorkshire folk. Oh dear. Oh, this is a controversial one. Ant or deck?
Oh my God, that is controversial. You would ask me when I was about 17, I would have said deck. When he had the curtains, he would have been deck. But then when I was about, this is not a quick fire answer, ladies. When I was about 16, I went to a record signing back when Ant and Deck were PJ and Duncan, aka. I went to a record signing, and I remember I had a t-shirt on with Little Miss Sunshine on the fact. And I walked up to the counter, and Ant went, "Hello, Little Miss Sunshine. How lovely to see you." And Ant, ever since then, 100%.
Did you get him to sign your shirt though?
No, I didn't. I got him to sign that whatever CD it was, and I got a photo, but he should have signed my shirt. I should have done that. I think my mum would have killed us if I'd gone home. The hell's that on your t-shirt? But
should have washed it.
No. Oh no. Yeah, do you know what? I'm exactly the same though. When I was younger, I used to like Deck with the curtains. I think, oh, he's so cute, like he's lovely. And then as I got older, it was more Ant. But I think that's because I think I've told you this, Angela. I used to work with his mum at Marks and Spencer's, and she was lovely. And I think just from that, I just became more biased towards Ant. Do you know when you've got, oh, I know your mum. And I think as I've grown up, it's been more Ant. But you can't have one without the other.
You can't have one.
But, yeah.
No. I wonder if we can go back to Marks and Spencer's and she works there still and say, look, hey, we want your Ant and Deck on, look.
That's a brilliant idea.
Should be like, who are you? I can't remember you. This is like 20 odd years ago, Angela.
Exactly. He's got like millions of quid's worth in the bank. He's not going to go on Geordie Pride, is he?
Why not? He should have. I'm sure they've got a heart full of home. They could come on Geordie Pride.
Well, that's
especially now.
true. That's true.
We can only hope. We can only hope. I did doing Shyburne's getting out phrase. I did ask his mum if I could get a signed photo. So I've got a signed photo from both of them. So maybe I should just suck it up. Just go and find her at Marksy's and ask.
Yeah. Right. Next question. What's your favourite hidden gem in the Northeast? Somewhere people should know about.
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know if I can think of just one. And I want to say Northumberlandia because I think it's beautiful. But what's the beach? Hold on. You might have to give us a pause for a second. What is the beach called? Low Hawksley Beach. Low Hawksley Beach, because the thing I love about it is when the tide's out, there are some petrified trees that are literally thousands of years old that you can see on the beach that are from the time when there was a land bridge between us and like Scandinavia. And I just think that's spectacular. Like the fact that on a beach, you're just walking along a beach and you've got a thousands of year old tree just sticking out the sand. It is spectacular. Cool. So I think Low Hawksley Beach for just that reason.
Oh, nice. I didn't realise that, actually. I'd probably trip up on them and not realise what they were.
My dog actually did, yeah.
Damn seaweed. I'll start kicking it and I'll break it or something.
Break my leg. Ask me famous question, Hayley.
Oh, go on then. Yeah. She asks this everyone, and I think she's had about a 5% success rate so far.
Okay.
Oh, if you're from this neck of the woods, you'll know what this is. What is a cracket?
Is it not a little stool that you had next to
Yes.
Can I have a cracket? Yeah.
Yes, you've got it. You've got it. Only a few's getting that, mind.
Really?
Yes.
Do you think it must be a pit? Do you think it's pitmatic, Angela? Is it like it must be a pit thing? Yeah.
It must be, because it was one of my granny's stools in a house.
Yeah.
Sit on the cracket, whoa, Ange. Sit on the cracket. Get your arse on the fire.
Oh, isn't that lush?
Yeah, she's asked that nearly to everyone, and most people say no. There's only been you and one other person, like
I know.
last week, wasn't there?
Yeah. Ah, well done. Well done.
Proud.
Big tick. The last one, and this is the question we ask everybody. What is your go-to Greg's order?
Oh my God. This is going to make me sound like such an arse. I really love... It depends on my mood. You cannot beat a festive bake. I am one of those people who gets excited every year when the festive bake comes out. And a couple of years ago, I bought so many of them, I sickened myself of them. I just got to the point by mid-November, I was like, I can't eat another festive bake. I think I need to just hold off it. I really love that vegan sausage rolls, and I know that makes us sound very like ridiculous. But I love a vegan sausage roll. I also really love the ham and cheese baguettes. I just think they're the best sandwich known to man. Simple taste, but my absolute favourite, if I go to Greg's and don't buy a triple chocolate muffin, there's something wrong. I
got the bit in the middle, haven't it?
Oh, it's a bit in the middle. I used to work years ago. I had a really horrible job where I was just constantly miserable, and I was about 10 minutes walk away from a Greg's. And the number of times I would march out of the office I put on about 3 stone when I worked there. I'd just march out of the office on a bad day and come back with a chocolate muffin shoved in my face. Because I was like, this is what I need to get through the... Greg's chocolate muffins are the best. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah, very nice. I'm the same with the baguettes as well. Get us a sandwich from Greg's. Just a plain ham and cheese baguette. Lush.
The baguettes are so good. Oh,
so crunchy. Oh my God, your mouth's watering.
Yeah.
Slavering.
I love Greg's.
I always think that's
the sign of a proper Geordie is the fact that you take me anywhere and you could take me to any fancy restaurant and I'd be like, can I not just have a Greg's, please?
It's like walking with my full of stotties.
Yeah. It's like when we're coming home and we'll sometimes stop at Scotch Corner and there's like Burger King, KFC and stuff, and I'm like, just go to Greg's, get a couple of sausage rolls.
Greg's.
Sorted. Plus, it's a fortune at Scotch Corner, so I'll just quite gladly get some sausage rolls. It doesn't break the bank, does it? So, thank you so much, Ceryn. Is there anything else that you want to share with the people watching, the people listening? Any upcoming projects or events that you've got coming up?
I have got, finally, it's about 3 years since my last book came out, but I'm finally putting the audiobook of it out in the next few weeks. So that's going to be out. If you'd like to, if you aren't already sick of the sound of my voice at this point, you can have a listen to that.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was going to ask if it was you talking it.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it's interesting when I said that before about how people used to be like, oh, your voice. When I did the book originally in 2021, so many people got in touch and said, could you do an audio book, please? Because I'd just like to hear you read it. And so for all those people out there who are like, oh, nobody wants to hear this Geordie voice. Actually, people do. Everybody wants to hear Geordie voices. So yeah, that's out there.
I think I talked over the title of it. Sorry, what was the title?
It's called The Divine Feminist.
Divine Feminist. Lovely.
And otherwise, there's a few other bits and bobs that are underway at the minute, but they're not quite ready to be able to tell you that much about them almost, because they're still just puttling away in my mind. So yeah, just head over to my website and have a little look, really, and there's bound to be more things coming up very soon.
So, yeah. Fabulous. Yeah, we can do that. I'll pop everything, like the show notes, I'll pop your website and stuff in there. Where can people find you on social media, should they wish to follow you as well?
So I am just at Ceryn Rowntree on pretty much everything on social media, which obviously is, I always have to spell out both names, but of course they'll be in the show notes so you can see my name. But yeah, I'm at Ceryn Rowntree on everything. So yeah, it's
brilliant.
Lovely,
yeah, and I'll add that all in the show notes so you can follow Ceryn and see what she's up to, and all those things that are puttling on in your mind, they might come to fruition and you'll be able to check them out.
Thank you so much.
Lovely. So thank you so much for spending time with us. And me and Angela have really enjoyed chatting here. I think we probably could have chatted for about another 3 hours. So yeah, and maybe we will do one of those Halloween specials.
Yes.
You never know. But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. It's been so lush talking to you both. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ceryn.
Thanks so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support Geordie Pride further, then don't forget to subscribe, share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at Geordie Pride. Until next time, keep that Geordie Pride shining bright.